I'd like to call the January 9th, 2025 Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. First item of is public comment. There's anybody that would like to address the board on an item not on our regular agenda, please.
So for those of us joining us remotely, if you'd like to speak at this portion of the agenda for items not on the agenda, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you. Not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, next item is election for 2025 MBR Chair and Vice Chair. So we don't really have an applicant or anything. Let's just throw it open and see what people have to say.
I nominate John.
I would like to name John Watson as chair.
Okay,
And I would also like to nominate Bill Wolf as vice chair.
Second that.
well, and now under discussion, Bill, you just got nominated for Vice Chair. It'll teach you to get here on time.
And
If you want to vote against yourself.
board secretary.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor, but discussion, please. Anybody?
Yes, I would like to have, a little discussion on this topic. On one hand, I have to say that the last 2 years probably were the best 2 years for me on MBOR. And thank you for Chair Watson and Dave. That made the job of the board so easy, and personally, I really appreciate that. And then I also look at, just another aspect, and I like to continue that if we can, but then I also want to bring up another discussion, for discussion. We normally, the way the board works is that we have a rotation. And the vice chair become the chair. And the way we have been doing that for years is that you make sure that every members had a chance to be involved and run the board. And that has been a tradition for many years, until COVID, it changes a little bit and so forth and so on. Because, I'm, of all the members, I think they've been around the longest, right? And then probably myself, and then John, and then Bill, and then Robert, and then Rob and Stacy. And so that's one way of doing it, you make sure that all the 7, and usually the way we do it, we just ask, like your turn next, would you like to run it or not, or if you want to pass on to someone else? And so that would be, if that's the case, we go that route, it would be Dave. Because Dave was the vice chair last year. And then, we just keep rotating. And so that's how we normally do it. So you know what? That's my perspective. I thought that might be a way to get other people get involved. And so, and I think that, so I'm just asking Dave, would you like to be a chair next year?
No.
So,
And I took on the vice chair, explaining that to John that I'm willing to be vice chair, but I just not capable of chairing
okay.
right now.
So because of that, so we need, that's another way, we can vote on a motion to, which I have no problem to have John and Bill to be a vice chair. If Bill wants to be a vice chair, I think that's great. I have no problem with that, but I just want to bring up another option. If the board willing to consider the idea of rotating people to the board. So that means that what it's coming down to that if that's the case, then it probably, the next in line probably be Robert and probably me, because Bill was the chair before John. And so, and so since I've been chair already, so that's Robert, if you want to be a chair or not, and if you are, then, that's another way of doing it. Or if you're not interested, then it probably be me. And then, if I don't want it, then it pass on. And then we want to bring some of the landscape, Rob or Stacy into the vice chair position, if we can, because we are the newest members. So the year after this year, we can take over the board. So that's just for discussion.
Okay, so Tip, there's a motion on the floor. It sounds like you'd like to be vice chair. Is that correct?
No, I'm just, let's hear from other board members, because I think that, that's important to some other people.
Well-
I have,
Go ahead.
I mean, I haven't been on the board as long as you other members, but since I've been on the board, I've been thoroughly impressed with, the way John conducts the meeting and his concern for the applicants, and also his kind of commitment and passion for each item. He does homework, I think, above and beyond, at least me. I don't know about the rest of you. So this is one of these cases where, for me, the person that does this the most effective, from my sense of it, is John. So that's where I would support that. But I wouldn't want to stand in the way of anybody that really wants to, do this job. But I will say for the record right now that I'm not interested in either one of those positions.
Anybody else, please?
Yeah, I am happy to take on the vice chair position, not a problem. As Tip had said though, too, that what we had been doing in the past was that the vice chair would then step into the position of the chair. If Stacy or Rob, obviously you said you're not interested. If Stacy was interested in learning the ropes of the chair, that's always a good option to do that by being vice chair. So I'll take it on if that's the way to go. If you, Stacy, want to.
Not at this point,
Okay.
not
All right.
this year,
Okay.
maybe
All right.
next year.
Okay. Very good.
Any other discuss, did you
No,
finish?
no, I mean, John, obviously you've done a wonderful job. And I agree with Tip's comment about, you and Rob's comment about the effort that you put into it is clearly above and beyond what I've been as chair and what I've seen as others doing chair. So I'm happy to maintain you in that position, but I'll also open for others if they want to take that on. So I don't want to take on chair position.
Any other discussion, please? Okay, there is a motion on the floor for Watson to be chair, Wolf to be vice chair. All those in favor? What?
Did we change to Rob to be the chair?
No, no, for
Bill.
Wolf to be the vice chair.
And you be the chair?
Watson is chair, Wolf is vice chair.
Okay, so so does that mean that, Bill, that next year you'll be interested in being a chair?
I mean, if nobody else is taking it on, I'll do that. Otherwise, if we change it around and maybe Stacy or Rob are more comfortable taking that position on, then
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna raise that issue because,
what's that?
Tip mentioned that he or Robert.
Yeah,
probably
Yeah, but-
next
yeah.
in
Do
line
we
for
have to
chair.
follow the vice chair to chair position?
I respectfully have to, I've got some family stuff going on, very elderly mother, and I just got too much going on to do the research that John does, and plus I lost 4 nice homes in the Palisades. I've already been contacted about trying to dig up plans and get them back in shape. But I think a lot of people are gonna come up here, to be honest with you.
I agree.
But anyway, I'll think about it next time, but I'd like to just second the motion or,
You made the motion.
yeah, oh, okay.
Rob seconded it. Okay, is there any further discussion, please? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, Watson chair, Wolf vice chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Dave, thank you very much for last year's service.
I want to chime in, and I know how much work it is from being chair. And you definitely put the hours in and greatly appreciate it.
Agenda status report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give the planning commission the heads up that we're likely to have a discussion regarding the acreage on item number 4, but I'll defer to the planner to go over that at the,
Okay. Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, minutes of December 19th. Anybody got any comments on them, please?
I need to make note that I'm leaving.
Oh, we'll get to that in members' informational briefing. We're in minutes. Anybody got any comments on the minutes? Anybody, please? The one thing I saw, item number 6, this was 1386 East Valley Road. It's the project that had the roof, should it be a little higher or a little lower? And it had a garage in the upper left-hand northwest corner.
Yep.
That comment was not on here about moving the garage. It was something that was discussed in the meeting. And so I think we ought to put that item in. It's certainly up to them to decide if they want to do it. It was nothing more than a suggestion. Do other members agree with that, or should we just leave the minutes the way they are, please?
I thought it was a great suggestion.
Okay, so Kimberly, or Dave, I'm not sure who does this. Let's add, consider moving garage further to the south. And let them figure that out. Is there any other items, please?
Nope.
Was a detached garage.
But isn't it existing?
It is.
How would you move it?
You would tear it down and you would rebuild it. But it would open up the whole rear land yard. So for that cost, they get the entire yard available. They don't have a driveway cutting through, et cetera, et cetera.
And they could also back out a car.
More of a suggestion than a.
Yeah.
Oh, that had the long all the way back.
Yeah,
Consider.
it had no back out radius for a car coming out of the garage. Yeah. And they didn't want to do that because it would gobble up the space on the inside. So the suggestion was, why not just tear down the garage, move it forward? And then that solves 2 problems.
Okey doke. Okay, so I will move for approval of the minutes of December 19th, 2024 as amended. Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Somebody who wants it?
I second it.
Bill's got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Members informational briefing, please. Rob, this is your time to talk about.
I have a meeting at 3 and so I tentatively could be leaving slightly early. I need to leave by 2:45. If the meeting happens to be still going on at that point, I will have to depart.
Anybody else? Anything? Staff update, please.
I just have one item. I don't recall if I had mentioned at our last meeting that our county council who had covered the BARs, Brian Pettit, has left county service. He's moved up to Marin. And so we have a new county council assignment, Susan McKenzie. So if you guys have any issues, just contact me and I can put you in touch with Susan.
Guess we ran him out of town. Okay, anything else?
That's it for me.
Item number 1, gentlemen, Don, Robert, please. So we are on for a first review here. This is adjacent to a project we approved last year. Yes? Okay. There you go. Now it is.
Yes. So it's on Olive Mill Road. It's right next to a project that is under construction. It's a single-family house with a fully underground garage, a small cabana and a swimming pool. There's an existing ADU that we designed that's there and built in the driveway, and the driveway that goes down to the ADU and loops back around is also there. We had to put that in for the fire department for the ADU. The house is 8% over the guidelines. We have done neighborhood studies for the other houses, and all the neighboring properties are at least 10, the one below us is like 68% over. So we feel like we're consistent with the neighborhood. So if you zoom in on the site plan, I can point out the different things that are going on. There you go. So the driveway comes up, it's a shared driveway with the other property. You come off of Olive Mill, take a left, come up, and then the turnaround in front of the house is new, but the rest of the driveway is there. The swimming pool is new in the 80s. There's an existing house that's coming down. And then the ADU is the building that's in that bottom left-hand corner. You can go to the pictures. So that barn-looking structure is the existing house. You can see the ADU down in the corner. And then there's that grading that's going on was for the driveway. And I guess that's a picture from the porch of the existing house looking back. The middle one is just looking across the site, the ADUs to your right. And the last one is, I believe it's looking across the site from the north. Let me go to the next sheet. This is Chuck. Is Chuck
Yeah, I'm
there?
here. I'm here if you have anything.
Okay, why don't you just go ahead and go over your
Okay,
landscape
so I
plan?
wanted to make the point that coming off of Olive Mill, that like I was involved with the other project as well. And it's a really very soft, demure landscape. It's not a showy landscape. It's just an opening off of Olive Mill. And then there's a Y to the two gates, but it's very, it's not a bright, vibrant, it's just a very calm experience. And then when you come up the driveway, in the driveway, you can't really see it from the street, but it's beautiful, real cobble. And then once you're up on this plateau, then there's no public views at all. But even with that being said, it's just a traditional landscape. There's some nice axial opportunities. One's through the motor court, and then one's across the swimming pool from the main house. And so and then that's going to be an artificial piece of turf. That's what was suggested as being likely there. So it's not an outrageous landscape, and it's working with the existing. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Good. Okay, go on to the next slide. You could bypass all the rest of the landscape. Okay, so this is the basement plan. Again, it's fully underground. There's no windows. There is an emergency staircase coming up on the bottom left. The next slide, first floor plan. As Chuck just mentioned, we have the entrance that's on center with the living room, on center with the pool. Another access going the other way. A nice family kitchen, dining room area. And then the upstairs is a master bedroom. Can you go to the next slide, David? So the master bedroom with bath and two closets, then 2 bedrooms, bath and closets. Elevations. Oh, that's the roof plan. We don't need to look at that. So here's the entry, the east elevation. You can see the color scheme on the side. There's a recessed covered porch off the master that you see above the entry door. It's going to be, clay tile, shutters, steel door and windows. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So this is the south elevation looking towards the pool. Got a covered porch on the right. There's a simple trellis on the left. And then the other elevation is the one facing the neighbor, and that's pretty subtle.
I'd just like to point out the master bedroom has covered porch on the north or the east and the west face. And when you get to that height, there's actually ocean views. And so we wanted to take advantage of that. So we're on the top there, you're looking at the covered porch on the west side. And there's a beautiful view of oak forest there. And on the east faces, there will be some water and mountain views. They're pretty nice.
So we can just go to the, I believe it's the last slide, which is the cabana. Very simple, nice covered porch with a fireplace facing the pool. Same color scheme. This color scheme was also what we used for the cabana. I mean, the ADU that's already there. And that's it.
And also, we did take the 1,200 square foot of the ADU, and that burnt up a lot of the detached accessory building allowable area.
It was in our calculations.
Okay, what's this, brand new structure, 2 stories. We've did a site visit next door, which is in construction, 2 stories, about this same height.
Yes.
So part of the question should be, should we do a site visit? Should we ask for story polls, et cetera? So let's just go down the line. Dave, please.
Did you say that the property really isn't visible from the street?
The property's not, there will be some framing that could be visible from the street. It's similar to the story poles that were erected to the building north of this, where we had the redwood that was saved, if you recall.
It's about 20 feet above the road to the pad.
And then we're set back from the brow of the hill there. But I do think the upper store framing would be visible.
Thanks.
Tip, please.
Okay, so I believe the this is the parcel that there's a driveway under construction right now. A cobblestone driveway going up the hills.
Yes, that's exactly.
That's right. So the question is that would the house be visible from Oak Road?
Maybe the second story. As you're driving by, that driveway that comes up from the road climbs about 20 feet
From Oak Road.
from Oak Road. So, and it's also set back. So it would be in this, it's full of oak trees.
So it's the same elevation as Oak Road, in a
No,
way.
It's 20 feet above Oak
Oh,
Road.
no, it's 20 feet above.
I'm sorry. Not Oak.
Same elevation as
Same
Oak
elevation
Road.
Above Olive Mill.
Yeah, and there's a house in front, right, on Oak Road. This is the back one, back lot, but the front lot and on Oak Road, then this seems like a back one. It's between Oak Road and Olive Mill.
Yeah, there's 2 new homes on Oak Road that we're involved with, and then they're in Oak Grove as well. And so I don't believe you'll see the houses walking along Oak Road just from the new landscaping.
Can you bring up the Google map for a second?
Remember, there was it a redwood
It was a red one on
on the other parcel? Do you remember that parcel? There's this stately redwood and we kind of did everything we could to save it.
Immediately to the left of the lettering 247 Olive Mill Road, that's the home that's now complete, and that's just the foundation stage there on Oak Road. So it's a 2-story right there. Yeah, that's the 2-story building that is built.
Okay, Rob, questions, please?
For the architects, on the east elevation, did we look at that? What is the function of the door to the left of the main entry?
That's a back door to catch a little patio for morning sunrise and a sun. We trying to be able to enjoy that east light.
Is there, I'm always, it's my own personal thing about, sometimes I like the hierarchy of the main door kind of reading clean and being dominant. And then, so when there's another door there, I think it kind of has the potential.
You don't want to confuse
Yeah, I
who
mean,
arrive for the first time.
is it,
If we would,
is there a chance to kind of maybe hide that in a nice kind of
It
way?
hasn't made it on
If,
the plan
if I
yet.
could interject it, if you look at the landscape plan, I understand the point and agree with it, and I've kind of hidden it. I've made it secondary.
Yeah, no, it's got some landscape. Okay, I see what you're,
Yeah, it should be very easy to figure out which is the primary.
So it's off the kitchen, and it was a place where they could go have morning coffee.
okay.
And it would, since this was done, I think we've talked about adding a hedge. So when you're in that area on a patio in the morning, that you're in a private instead of looking over the cars and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there
So
were.
that has come up.
Yeah, the architecture reads really nice, and it just kind of was a distraction that I wanted to ask about. That is, actually, Chuck, this is for you. What's going on as far as the hardscape materials go? I'm trying to understand kind of the transition from the hardscape at the house, and then where the pool is, there's this like really thin strip of turf or synthetic turf, and I'm not
Mhm.
really sure what the materials are. And so could
Yeah,
you?
well, typically,
explain that?
well, really, the architects could chime in. I'm kind of retained to do the planting, irrigation, and lighting, and so these men are professional, they're handling that. I believe it's stone on concrete.
well, it's all, that loop, that circular loop in front of the ADU is all cobblestone. I mean, and that whole road will be cobble, including going into the motor court.
And then, so the patios in the rear and the pool area
Now,
paving is
It's
that?
sort of
what are those-
undetermined right now. And that the pool edge, the pool details, we would flush that out next time we see them.
Okay, all right, those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Stacy, please.
Yeah, I see a different cabana on this plan than on the architect set. I assume it's the architects that we're going with. Okay, and so that'll be reduced in terms of scale on Charles's plans
Right.
eventually?
Yeah, I guess there's some revisions to do.
Okay, that's my only question.
Robert, please.
So how many feet above Olive Mill is this?
If you zoom in, we could get a real accurate account. You could look at the elevation along the street.
And then I didn't see any dimensions on the elevations for height, so I'm curious.
It's a 10-foot plate on the first floor, 9 foot on the second floor, 4 and 12 pitch. So it's going to be right around 20.
But you're
27 feet.
convinced this is not going to be that visible from,
We can make that determinations ourselves if we choose to do a site visit.
You could do a street view from Google Maps and take a look at it from there. There's quite a bit of trees and hedges going along the street that you really have a hard time seeing where the house would be. From Olive Mill.
where's that redwood? Where,
It's
The
a
redwood is,
parcel above.
I know, I'm trying to orient. So you split off to the right to that side and we go to the left on this one.
Yeah, the drive is a fork. The redwood site is to the right when you enter the driveway.
Yep, I remember this.
to the left of there is where the house would be behind that.
Did we go
We'll keep
up
going
there?
down to the
Over
left.
there for some reason.
Yeah, now that's our drive there.
So that's the drive. This is before any of the new driveway's been put in. If you keep going to the left, down the road a little bit, you can see there's a little bit of a hill, then there's a driveway, then there's another hill that go up. So From that point of view, you're gonna be looking up into these trees, which there's more trees there now because we mitigated for the ADU. And I believe there's even an existing hedge that goes along the top of the hillside. If you can turn around.
And Bill, questions, please.
Yeah, I think most have answered my questions. In terms of story poles, I mean, it looks pretty well screened. I mean, if we were going to do anything at all, maybe a single ridge, the highest point, and do a site visit with that. Otherwise, I mean, I think I'd be okay without the story poles even.
Questions?
No questions.
No questions. I have no questions either. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 247 Olive Mill Road, please?
And for those of us joining remotely, if you'd like to speak on this item, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. No hands raised.
Okay, so we are on for concept today. We have not yet resolved story polls and or site visit. Comments? Dave, please.
I like the architecture. And in general, the site planning, I think it's unfortunate that fire turnaround for the ADU is that's proximity to the pool, but I'm assuming that's existing, the turnaround. Is that correct?
Yes, it exists.
Mhm.
And originally we had a T back there, but then the fire department came back and said they're not allowing
A new fire marshal.
T at the end of a driveway anymore. It has to be a turnaround.
Wow.
I think there was a question, 23 feet is the circular auto court compared to the 20 feet above the entry to the driveway. I think that someone asked that question. Exactly 23.
Well, I'm generally fine with the project, but I would want to see the ridge story pole just to be sure of the visibility from the street. And those are my comments.
Chip, comments, please?
Actually, I'm pretty familiar with the site, and the new driveway being putting in, and, I really don't think you can see the house at all. We can barely see the driveway coming up from Olive Mill. So the only place that you could see this house is maybe from Oak Drive and not Olive Mill. So I'm pretty certain about that. So for me, I don't think story poles will be needed. And I think the lot is pretty private and the house is pretty nice, so I don't have any issues.
Rob, comments, please.
So, I like the project. I really like the architecture. There's some little odds and ends that I just wanted to comment on. On the south elevation, could we go to that, please? My own little, I guess, pet peeve is so what's happening with the sloped? Is that whole face stone, or is it a mix of the stone is kind of bleeding into the stucco, or what's?
The south, the
That,
the
like a shed?
facing the pool is all stone arches for a covered porch. So it continues around the corner and coins into the right side of the arch. And then it just sort of bleeds back into plaster.
All right, and I'm not an architect, but sometimes I find with stone, it's nice when it steps as opposed to slopes, and so that's what kind of caught my eye. Well, you've got kind of a sloped roof there, and then the stone has got a sloped, you've got the tile that's sloped
Um,
on the south elevation, so it's like, I'm just saying that I find when you have stone that it reads better to me when it steps as opposed to slopes like that. That was something that caught my eye. Okay, so that's just me. So, and then The other comment I had was on, can we go back to the site plan or the hardscape landscape plan? That plan right there, we just passed it. That works for me too. So, I mean, your elevations are really nicely drawn, that hand drawn quality. It really kind of evokes the character of the architecture and where you're at, and it's got this rustic kind of quality. And so maybe it's a matter of graphic semantics, but I find maybe that like the driveway motor court going into the front door and stuff is a little stiff. And so it seems like there's a chance to kind of carry some of that kind of, yeah, just get a little bit more loose, a little more informal, maybe a little more curves than what you have. I mean, it really reads in what you've done with the architectural drawings, and I think that can carry into the site plan a little bit, and I think it'll be very successful at that. And so anyways, but overall, I really like the project, and but I do agree with it's unfortunate that fire turnaround kind of biting into your backyard. It kind of throws some of the symmetry and all that off out of the back. So that's a shame. But other than that, I think it's a really nice project and gladly support it.
Stacy, please.
I think I can generally support the project. I really like the architecture. I think the landscape is compatible in its current state. I know the cabana is getting a lot smaller and hopefully a little less hardscape when that happens. Yeah, it's too bad you can't do something about the fire truck turnaround. But I think it is what it is in this particular situation. And I also think you won't be able to see this house from the road. I'm very familiar with the site too, and it's pretty well screened.
Robert,
I enjoy the architecture as well, and I'm sort of on the fence on story poles. If you've got 23 feet of rise from Olive Mill and then a, what, 25, 28-foot house, I mean, you're up well over 50 feet to the ridge above the road, so I could justify story poling just the one ridge. But I think the other members have not expressed concern about the visibility, so I'm going to go with their thinking unless someone else decides otherwise.
Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, the architecture looks great. I don't have any problem with that. Landscape looks well done. If there was maybe a better definition, maybe that'd be something Chuck could offer in terms of being able to provide or prove that there's screening pretty well screened from the street. I mean, the elevation is such, and it's set back off the street quite a ways, so I kind of
We
don't
can
think.
cut a couple sections through there for the next meeting.
Yeah, that might be helpful. And maybe showing elevations of your trees too might also help.
Mhm.
That being said, then if there was a way to prove that we're not seeing much of the house, then not that we don't have to see all of it, but much of it anyway, then I'd be okay with no story poles.
I think we have several options on site visit. One, no site visit. Two, site visit without story poles. And is the house next just immediately to the north in framing? No.
Not quite.
Okay. And number three, story poles on this. So I remember being on the site directly to the north that you guys designed, and I think it's essentially invisible. And our job is not to make everything completely invisible from everybody, but just make sure things don't loom over everybody and it's appropriate in the scale. We have 2 stories to the west. We have 2 stories to the north. We have a road with an ecological preserve to the east. Is that still Casa Dorinda Ecological Reserve right there? Yeah, so we don't have a lot there. So I don't feel a strong need. This is pretty rare for me for story poles because of the familiarity with this and the fact that I did a story pole visit on the parcel directly to the north. So, but if others would like to have it, that is certainly what we normally do. I like the project, so can we have Who would like story poles? Raise your hands, please. One. Anybody else? Two. Strongly?
Well, I agree with everything.
Turn on your mic, please.
I agree with everything you said. We were at the site to the north, and that was a two-story as well, correct? And we couldn't see those poles from Olive Mill
That house is actually closer to Olive Mill
than this one?
this one.
Yeah. I'll retract that. I think we're okay. It's just that, as John was saying, it's sort of a matter of course that we story pole two-story houses, but in this case, it seems well screened, so I will drop that.
And Dave? Okay, so it sounds, now, we can still do a site visit to sort of get familiar with everything to confirm it. I don't personally need it, but not everyone's on this board has been there. Okay, it sounds like no site visit either. Okay, so where do we go next with this project? It's on for concept. I have not heard a negative comment about it. Preliminary final?
Yeah.
You want to go that far?
Full board. Yeah.
Full board.
Yeah.
Okay. Colors, light fixtures, you know, the whole 9 yards. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
And you too. Okay, item number 2, 1129 High Road.
Hi. Hi. All right. So this is an existing house on High Road. Majority of the structure is existing untouched to remain, and our main scope of work is an addition on the back of the house and above an existing garage. So if you scroll to the next page. Keep scrolling till we get to, yeah, okay. So this is the photos of the house. It is not a historic structure. We did have a historian on board who provided us with a report while we had our planner consult. And also actually consulted with him in terms of the new addition to the structure to keep it within the same style. And in the center, you'll see the two-car garage that's existing. It's pretty close to the left-hand side property line. It's about 2.5, a little bit more, 2.5 feet away at the corner, and then the property line goes a little bit on an angle, so it gets a little bit further and further from that property line. And it's kind of a story and a half. The ceiling in the garage is pretty low, so when you go to the second floor, you actually step down into the space under the roof of the garage, which is currently a laundry room, a storage facility, and I think maybe a bathroom. So the addition that we're proposing is basically taking this kind of a half story into a full story above the garage, as well as extending it towards the back of the property. So if you look at the image, actually, that's the image on the bottom right, you will see a two-story. Yeah, if you could zoom in into this image. On the right-hand side of it would be the back of the. Right. So you're looking basically at the back of the property. The garage is not shown on this photo. It's kind of tucked in behind the building. So the addition we're having is basically right in that area on the right-hand side of the structure. If you could scroll. Actually, no, before you scroll, let me just also mention the basement. So you will see that the property is sloping from High Road pretty steeply. So there's an existing basement that's unutilized, pretty extensive underneath the whole structure. It's just raw dirt. It's just a very tall crawl space. So that's not used for anything. And part of the scope was to just finish this basement to have it as a finished storage space and provide a bathroom that would service a pool that, and just the yard, just that people could use a bathroom. So we're not extending it. We're not increasing the plate height of the basement. We just want to just kind of clean it up, drywall a portion of the basement, and provide a storage room with a bathroom that was servicing backyard. Keep scrolling, please. Keep scrolling to the plans. Okay, so this is the essentially you will see the extent of the basement. The whole blue area is all crawl space, and the area in white is the portion we want to basically finish and convert to, I guess it's technically a habitable space, but it's not used for rooms or anything else other than storage. If you could scroll down one page more. This is the demo plan for the lower level. So this is our existing garage. You can see the proximity to the property line on the right-hand side. We're not touching the garage. We're essentially trying to build on top of it and extend the garage further, page south. You could just scroll more. So this is the plan where you would see the half story inside of the garage, under the garage roof, essentially, which is now currently a laundry room with some storage space. The area that's on the top left corner is just the interior remodel of the existing master bedroom, where they're just reconfiguring it to make it a little bit more comfortable for the family. It's a young family. They just recently got a child, so the reason for the addition of the bedroom is for their second child, essentially. Could you please just keep scrolling? Actually, as a side note, I want to apologize for the quality of drawings. We submitted this strictly for planner review, and unfortunately, we didn't get our planner review until yesterday afternoon. This was not our intent to present this kind of quality of set to MBAR, but we just got our feedback with a lot of comments essentially yesterday. So there'll be a lot of adjustments to the proposed building based on those comments. So you will see the hatched area on the right-hand side is the area of addition above the garage, and the addition behind the garage that is now going to line up with the two-story structure in the rear of the property. We're not impacting any vegetation, any oaks, but basically the tree that you see on the right next to the addition, I believe, is not a protected tree, and in fact, quite a bit smaller than it's drawn in terms of the drip line size. But that was one of the feedbacks, that we need to identify all the trees in our next submittal, which we will do. Could you please keep scrolling? Okay, this is just the survey. Keep scrolling further. This is our historic report about the structure. So if you zoom in on the maybe top left corner first, so we can talk about the extension of the garage lower level. So that the existing garage will have a door to a new gym space directly behind it. The only access to that space will be from the garage, and there'll be no access to the outside. We just have a few windows. So that's just a little workout area room for the family. And if you could pan to so this is the basement, I guess, conversion to a storage and the wine cellar. That the homeowners are wine collectors, so they just basically want to. Actually, the wine is already there. It's just in the dirt. So we just wanted to finish the room with some drywall and create a space that's a little bit more clean and pleasing for them, and a bathroom that now will have new access from the exterior, from the backyard. So in our, and I don't know if there'll be a comment about FAR. One of the comments from our planner was regarding the FAR. So the basement is more than 50% of the perimeter of the basement is completely underground. So there might be a question about how high our FAR is. But I think depending on how that's calculated, I think we have a disagreement a little bit there. We should be within the range of the neighborhood. And if the basement were not to be counted at all, we would have never exceeded the 120 FAR percentage at all. So I just wanted to mention that. If you could scroll one more page down, please. Okay, so this is the proposed addition on the second floor. So essentially, the top left corner is pure reconfiguration, no square footage added, but the area on the right-hand side, so we're taking the laundry room that used to be there before, we're kind of reconfiguring it. Obviously, we're raising the plate to comfortable plate height so that people could use it a little bit better, and then adding essentially a suite with the ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet. And we're stepping that mass back. As you can see from the existing structure, we're stepping the mass back and just adding a balcony there that has privacy from the rest of the house, and just stepping the rest of it back so it doesn't kind of mess with the symmetry of the structure from the rear of the property. You could scroll back, scroll down to the next slide. This is our roof plan. This building has pretty, I think it's 8, if you zoom, I think it's 8 and 12, I might be wrong, maybe 6 and 12 pitch. So we're keeping the same roof pitch. We're above, at the rear of the property where the slope is dropping significantly. The grade is obviously a lot lower. We're still below 28-foot line, considering the pitch of the roof, and we're below 25 at the front of the property where the garage is, of course. So you will see that that encroachment of 3 feet of the proposed addition on the back into the setback that's marked on the lower right-hand corner. Could you keep scrolling? I don't know if you need to see the sections, but maybe elevations next page probably. Can you zoom out for a second? Zoom out, please. Yeah. Because on the top elevation, you won't be seeing any of our proposed additions anyway, but on the bottom elevation, on the south elevation, you will see the mass on the right-hand side with the balcony and railing. That is the proposed new bedroom that then gets wider to align with the existing garage wall to that bathroom area and the laundry room behind it. And you'll see the double staircase. That's the existing access to the crawl space right now. And the door you see on the left-hand side is that new door to service the bathroom that we added in that crawl space. Could you keep scrolling down, please? Yeah. So yeah, so on the bottom, on elevation, on the north elevation, you will see the garage, essentially existing garage with the doors, and that new taller plate mass that we added to the house to provide, I think it's laundry room and storage facility in the second floor. There's no other changes on this elevation except for this addition. Could you keep scrolling down, please? I think there should be, no, keep going. I think there should be another page. I guess that's it. Okay. So yeah, so to mention some changes, I guess we did not get support for right now for the lining up our second story addition directly above the garage. Unfortunately, it needs to step 6 inches, which I find absolutely, inconceivable. So it would have been nice to continue that mass up so it has some symmetry and we don't have to jog it 6 inches or 8 inches to the left to comply with the 3-foot separation from the property line. So that might be our redesign in the next round unless, something else happens with that. And other than that, I think we can basically, we've had good feedback from our pre-consult and our planner on the rest of the project, except for maybe a conversation about FAR that we haven't had yet.
Which is on page 1. Do you use a Mac?
Do I use a Mac computer?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, yes, but not when I was using this.
So I'm not quite sure how this was calculated here, but after looking at this, I went on out and did a neighborhood study.
Okay, yeah, I received those.
And so in the typical thing, there it is. And the green 42, there's actually 21 properties that are calculated, and I knocked out 42. It was a low number to help them out, and it's also kind of far away, but those are the other numbers. So if we go down, these are the numerics, and then there's the picture of it. Which at least potentially seemed to me to be excessive. So I also did several FAR studies, just like the worksheet. FAR existing top, That shows the 102. Okay, which is what then proposed, the third one down. That shows how it got up there with the various information, including the basement as being partially underground. Okay. And then I did it without the basement, which shows it at 116. Okay, so just so that everybody's, I don't see a lot of justification for anything over 110, but I just wanted to get all of that up. Questions, Bill, please.
Yeah, thank you, John. That was awesome because I wondered what the basement was adding to it.
A lot.
Thank you, yeah. Explain the setback on so two things. What, on that addition that you're doing on the second story there, is there a neighbor close by? How far is the neighbors there?
You know,
Do you have a
there's
Site
such-
plan that shows that?
There's maybe the survey, if you scroll down to the survey, then maybe. it
Show the
shows-
neighbor
But honestly,
proximities there?
keep scrolling. Yeah, here. Okay, so it doesn't show this.
No.
But there's a very dense hedge. I personally cannot, I've never seen the neighbor while visiting the site. I've been told by our planner that the neighbor on that side has an ADU that is in somewhat of proximity to this garage, but I don't know exactly where that is.
And what is the required setback? So for garages, you can go up as close as 3 feet?
I think
4
it's
feet?
non-conforming garage.
But if you were doing a new garage there, right, or a new structure?
5 feet away from the property line.
So, but what about residential portions?
Well, with the modification, 5 feet is the maximum modification encroachment.
Otherwise, it's normally 10 or 10% of the lot width, right?
Are you asking me about the setback number?
Yeah, the setback.
I think it's
for
10 feet. It's 10 feet right now.
10 feet,
Yeah.
okay, and you're at like 3 something, 3.
Well,
the
like I
second.
said, since the property line goes on an angle that's not parallel to the garage, it goes from 2.5 feet to probably 4. You'll see it on our site plan. I think from 2.5 feet to 3'8".
So that upper floor is what you're saying, which is residential,
yeah.
is encroaching into the
Correct.
setback, okay.
Correct.
Um,
Beyond allowable by modification, yes.
okay, I think that's it, thank you.
Okay, Tip, questions, please.
No questions.
Stacy.
Yep. No, can we go and look at the setbacks again? You had I believe there was
Yeah, if you zoom in on the proposed, maybe first.
because this kind of explains like the difference.
I think it's down the page.
Mhm,
on the
mhm.
list. Yeah, proposed, just keep scrolling until you get.
Yeah, there's two together, two plans on one sheet
I think it passed it.
with the comparisons.
It's the second floor, so we can look at either second or first floor, whichever you prefer. Maybe this one, yeah, probably easier to zoom in on the garage and.
No, it was actually, you had this, it was a setback having to do with that. It was a
This shows the setback as well.
basement first floor plan. It has the setbacks, but the other one was a study having to do with the modification that you put into the set. That's what I found when I looked at it last night. It was a side by side with setbacks current, if they were currently being done versus with the modification, with the rear yard being much larger. That's what I remember seeing in this. Well, then can we go and look at the aerial view with the neighbor? Because yeah, there is a very dense hedge, but you do have a neighbor that's very close, right on the other side of the hedge. It's online aerial, David.
Okay.
Yeah, go Google Earth. Because I think that shows a lot. Because what I'm concerned about, and the question is because right now the height, I can see from the, walking on front of the street, if you're looking at it, that you can't see the neighbor currently because that is a very large hedge. But once you add and extend the second story addition, the question is, would that hedge still screen the house?
The hedge is Currently, I should probably,
It's a pretty high hedge, but
very tall hedge. And you-
it's also a very close house next door on
Yeah.
this side.
But if you, I don't know if anybody has the chance to do a site visit. I've never seen this house, but I've been into the property many, many times. I could see the house behind that hedge. It's tremendously thick.
Okay, so yeah, the question I think is just, is that hedge going to cover and looking at this aerial? It doesn't appear that when you add the second story and take it up and pitch the roof, I'm not sure if you're getting screening from the hedge at that point. The house that's literally, it looks like 10 feet away.
I don't think it'll cover the roof, but I think it will cover probably majority of the second floor. It's hard to tell, but I could take more photos
It's-
just to demonstrate that on before the next hearing.
Okay, so that was my question. That's it.
Robert, please.
The basement is counted at what? Maybe John, you can answer
Okay,
this.
so partially underground, the first 800 square feet is 100%. Everything above and beyond that is 50%. Okay,
Okay, no more questions.
Dave, questions, please.
You indicated that the planning department is having you modify the plans. It wasn't clear to me what was going to happen with that setback.
Yeah, and as of yesterday, we just, so we had a pre-application that with a different planner who actually indicated that that would be supportable. Unfortunately, when we submitted the application on the plans you've seen today, the current planner assigned to the project said that that was incorrect information, and there was no modification process for encroachment beyond 5 feet into the setback.
So you're
Currently,
going to have to set back the second story 5
we
feet.
would have to set back the story, yeah.
Is that it, Dave? Rob,
Is there a landscape plan or some landscape?
There's,
That's
well,
important.
there's a landscape plan that Chris Gilliland has been working on with the homeowner. And it's kind of in between whether they're gonna do a pool or not do a pool. So we didn't include the landscape plan since we did not know what the plan for that was. So currently, there's a rose garden on the, basically on the elevation you see closest to you, and there was a talk about converting that to swimming pool, and we excluded the landscape plan until that decision is made.
Yeah, I think the landscaping is critical to kind of help selling where you want to go with it. So I think the next time you come in, that would be having some kind of a concept plan or seeing how that kind of all works with everything that's is being proposed and how that can work together. So that's it.
any more questions?
No.
And I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2, 1129 High Road, please?
For those online, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak at this time on this item. No hands.
Okay. Comments, we're on for the very first meeting. It sounds like the planner's got a few things to chat about. Bill,
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble kind of getting in front of the idea of that second floor addition there pushed so close to the property line. And because of the proximity of the neighbor and the tightness of the lots, with each other being so close. I'm not sure I'm crazy about that unless I can be shown otherwise that it could be screened and it's okay, maybe a field visit. Secondly, the FAR is very high. I'm okay with the ADU, with the added square footage under the basement because it's existing. But the second floor, again, massing and sort of the square footage added there, I'm having a little trouble with. So I'd like to see that FAR come down, based on John's good research there, 116 with no basement. If that was closer to 110, that might be a little more palatable for me or less. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Tip, comments, please.
Yeah, I do like the neighborhood. I think It's a very charming little neighborhood off High Road and and I definitely have some concern with the FAR. I'd like to keep those houses a little smaller, more charming, quaint. And just because the house was lifted and then you have a basement and that could potentially already have a bigger, it's hard to do with mass book and scale. So either you count the basement or not, it's still the same mass book and scale in my opinion. And because of that, I think that I would like to see the FAR reduce to make it more not visible to other neighbors. Thank you.
Stacy, comments, please.
I mean, I'm fine with the design, however, but with the second story addition, I'm not convinced that it won't be, that it'll be screened from the neighbor's side, first of all, and then it's already very close. So, I hesitate to kind of adopt that idea. And expanding the FAR to 146, I mean, I see Bill Wolf's point of it doesn't affect anything because it's in the basement and it's already kind of an existing, and I see that, but also too, then you create a precedent of another house that's considerably higher FAR for the neighborhood, which just continues to increase FARs in the whole neighborhood. So I think I would have to see it come down considerably in the next round to approve it. That's it.
Robert, please.
I would tend to agree. I don't like the precedent of the proximity of that second story addition to the property line. And, hedges die, things happen. I don't know, people, do things. As far as the basement goes, I'm not even sure, you need a certain amount of light and ventilation and all that. I don't think it qualifies as habitable space, and it's already there, so I'm not concerned about the basement. I'm more concerned about the second story addition, as everyone else has commented on. And it is a pretty looming structure from that corner we're seeing here with the basement. Even if it doesn't count, it's adding, what's there adds to the mass, bulk, and scale. And I agree that, those are mostly little houses on that street. And they're smallish lots. So this is a pretty aggressive proposal, and I think there's some work to do.
Dave, please.
Yeah, I agree with the comments that have been made. I have very strong concerns about the proximity of the proposed addition to the property line. And if you're going to be 5 feet off the property line, there isn't enough room there to do screening. Either your neighbors have the hedges on the neighbor's side or you're going to have issues. And you're asking for a lot. And then on top of that, you're really exceeding the FAR. So I just, I'll have a hard time justifying supporting this project unless you really bring more information, have the landscape architect demonstrate that the screening can be achieved, that you reduce the FAR to be more compatible with the neighborhood. And just that elevation is that east elevation right on the property line, that's very impactful. You're basically just depending on the hedge to screen it. So I have strong concerns. I need more justification for supporting it.
Rob, comments, please.
I agree with my fellow board members and the comments from Dave too. But I think and this is why I asked about the landscaping, the house feels bulky to me. And I think maybe landscaping is a good opportunity to kind of ground it more to the site. It's just looming over the site too. It doesn't feel, all the outdoor spaces are really high off the ground. And so it doesn't feel like it's kind of connected to the site. It's just looming over the site too. So maybe the landscaping is really a good opportunity, important part to kind of ground this project and maybe solve some of these issues that the other board members are mentioning. So that's why I kind of brought it up, and maybe the next time you come in, you can kind of look at that and integrate those two things, and it might help you quite a bit. So thank you.
I'm actually quite concerned about this project. Can we look at the basement plan, please? If you're asking basically for a wine room, it seems to me that there's an aggressively, one page up, right there. So you're looking at a very large space, which could become, without any problem, a junior ADU. Now, that's not necessarily your intention, but it is the opportunity that's created. Then can we go to the site plan, please? And all of a sudden, couple that, there, right, upper left-hand corner, an ADU, which we don't, because you can have both a junior and an ADU. We've got something like 180 FAR, plus or minus, it's around that area. Insufficient parking, walkable down to Coastal Edge Road and the water, and no permit for either the junior ADU once it's finished space, which is what they're asking for. And no permit whatsoever for the ADU in the upper left-hand corner. So, and then insufficient parking, way over, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't support that basement at all. I don't care what your intention is. There's two things. There's this thing called it.
Clarify one thing about the basement.
Yep.
It's super low plate. It's 6 feet. There's no intention to use it for habitable space. It's very uncomfortable. There's gigantic steel beams that are below that plate. And honestly, in response to all the comments about FIR, we're just gonna scrape it from the scope because it's literally
Good,
stored.
excellent,
They have no,
excellent. So get that, and then when you get the bedroom, the new exterior, you bring that down to 110, I think you have a project, because that's going to force you off the side yard setback.
right, exactly.
So with those two, then you're at 110, which we do routinely approve. Okay, and you're still way above the neighborhood, but even in situations like this, we don't hold people down to the neighborhood. We do allow it to get up to that level. So those are my comments. So
John, if the basement's less than 6 feet, then it's not habitable space, then
And there's honestly no
and
intent.
it doesn't count.
and it doesn't count on the
towards
FAR.
FAR, if it really isn't usable.
I mean, it's, there's, I don't, if you have beams that are hanging below 6 feet, do you count that the rest of the basement is below 6?
I don't know, let the planners decide that, but the question is, why, if it's uncomfortable, why do you have the wine room all the way buried in the middle of the building? Why don't you pull it right out? There's a staircase with a door.
We can totally do that. It's
Pull
honestly
it
right
right
now.
to that front level and then leave the rest of it as is. And that's a whole lot easier, number one, to build, and number two,
Right. They honestly just wanted for storage. They have, kids, storage, boxes, clothes, and they really wanted to just have a finished space that's not dirt.
okay, we'll have a chat with your client and see. I'm not going to
Yeah.
vote for anything over 110. Now, I may not, particularly when you look at the neighborhood study, I see no reason whatsoever that this is a large, dense neighborhood. 90, 75, 110, 93, 58, 41.
And we have a very large site too, I guess.
Okay. So, okay, those are my comments. Anybody else want to finish up?
I'm curious, can you go back to the section through that basement? It seemed like it was a lot more than 6 feet. to
The
my
plate, the
height.
plate height in portions is more than 6 feet, but there's gigantic steel beams that are supporting the deck that you see in front of the staircase that are hanging way below 6 feet.
For my vote, no basement. I don't know about
And
other people, but
Also steel columns all over the basement too, that
Well, you could put walls under the columns. I mean, it could be divided up. I mean, the beams. Um, But yeah, I mean, habitable space is 7 feet, 6 inches.
And that's what they have shown, right? So I think it'd be better, okay, anyway, anything else from the board, please?
Nothing else.
Bill? Thank you, we'll see you next time.
Thank
Okay, item number 3, 1401 East Pepper Lane. You're up.
So presuming further conceptual on that one,
What?
presuming further conceptual on that one.
Yeah, further, yeah, thank you. Item number 3, 14, oh, okay, very good, thank you. Turn the mic on.
Hello. My name is Carl Cross. I'm representing Studio William Hefner on this project. I think William might be joining us, but if he's not, then I'll get started.
Please.
Okay. So this is the Gordon Russo residence at 1441 East Pepper Lane. It's an existing residence that will have an addition onto it. So the scope of the project will be about an 860 square foot addition with living space to the primary suite and to the living area, about 900 square feet of internal renovations, 300 square feet of trellis work on the exterior, and 500 square feet of decks and barbecue. The original house was built in 1895 and is part of a kind of historical property that was once the Bliss Ranch, part of Casa Dorinda at one time. And some other additions were put onto it in later years. So the intent is to take the existing kind of farmhouse style and the design elements incorporated into that, including the fenestration and exterior siding and the stonework and the asphalt shingles, and just continue that language on with the additions. So we're at 68% FAR. So it's pretty modest addition. So if you go to the existing photographs, the upper left-hand corner is the photograph of the west elevation of the entrance of the main house. And then as you just kind of wind around it, you can see the additions on the back end of it with a flat roof and kind of more of a vented crawl space underneath that. So the intent is to kind of continue along with the sandstone base and continue with the existing vernacular as well. Next, please. So this is just the existing survey showing the existing structures on site. Next, please. This is just a modified setback diagram. Next, please. This is the existing site plan showing the main residence there in the center with the additions kind of encompassing that and decks. To the left is the guest house that was built to kind of mimic the style of the original house. Later, a pool was added and another play structure. Next, please. This is the existing floor plan, just kind of showing the current layout. And just some of the additions is just kind of choppy and, some of the rooms aren't adequate to today's lifestyle. Next, please. So this is the existing elevations of the house. It's really nice scale and simple forms and simple windows, kind of that farmhouse style. Next, please. So this is the proposed site plan. So shaded areas are what we're proposing. So the new garden room to the south of the main residence there will be the addition. We're extending that deck around the side that kind of wraps around there. The primary suite and bedroom to the south also will be enlarged and following kind of the same footprint, but kind of moving it down. And then the eastern deck off the kitchen will be enlarged slightly with a new barbecue area and a new trellis. Next, please, whenever you're ready. So this is the floor plan, reconfiguring a couple interior bedroom or bathrooms that makes sense. So the living room, the addition of a garden room will be the addition. Kind of looking at more of kind of like a greenhouse style with a lot of fenestration on both the south and the west elevations. The primary suite will be enlarged and pushed down to incorporate a little bit more room and with the walk-in closet and bath. The kitchen will be reconfigured to work a little bit better. And then the connection of the rooms with secondary kitchen slash bar area will connect those spaces. And then leading to the exterior deck on the east is a new trellis and new barbecue area for entertaining. And then the south area will have another expansion of that deck that wraps around. Next, please. Second floor will remain the same and no additions added onto that. Next. This is the roof. So the roof, we're just kind of mimicking that other north wing and kind of mirroring that against the house to form that southern wing. And then the primary suite's roof will probably be higher than the original roof to kind of differentiate that primary suite. And then you have the trellis to the east. Next, please. So this is the elevation of the front elevation, which is the west. So you could see that addition of the garden wing that will basically match the materials of the existing house, including the fenestration. The one thing that's really nice is the sandstone base. And we are going to replace the existing wood base, vented base with a stone base to kind of ground the whole thing together. The south elevation will add a skylight, but it's probably going to be divided light for some a little bit smaller scale. And then you have the deck extending out there and then the fenestration to kind of match the original. Next, please. On the top is the east elevation coming out of the kitchen and the master bedroom on the left, just kind of differentiating and pulling it off of it to kind of, again, kind of like isolate that area to define the bedroom and the trellis, keeping the same plate height coming out and extending that. And then the bottom is the north elevation with the barbecue area right there. Next, please.
Don't know that we need the sections.
Yeah,
Just keep going.
yeah,
It's
that's it.
seen it. Okay, you're done.
Yes.
Very much. So questions, Rob?
Thank you. Could you quickly just go through the before and after on the elevations again?
Okay, so that's the after or the proposed.
What's the existing, what's before, what's the after?
So if you see the shaded area to the right of the main house, that wing, it's hard to see, but there's a dashed blue line that's kind of defining the new.
Okay.
Maybe if you just quickly go to the existing elevations and so you see the upper left is the front. It has that left wing, and then we're just kind of mirroring that wing to the other side.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Robert, questions, please.
On the existing, there are flat roofs currently.
That is correct.
Have you considered trying to do a sloping roof where those flat roofs are?
We looked into that a little bit. You're just increasing the plate height, and then it was just getting awkward. But
And the historians have given you guys the all clear?
no, that's ongoing. So that's under
No
review.
more questions?
Dave, questions, please.
No questions.
Chip, questions, please.
No questions.
Bill, questions, please.
The question about the deck railing, I probably don't have that detailed yet. Is that going to be picketed or?
Currently, it's not, but we will definitely study that because grade's getting a little high there.
And there's no garage. You don't have any garage. It's all
Correct.
outdoor parking, and you're not being required to update that or provide covered parking. You just need 3 spaces.
Yes,
3 open spaces is fine.
yes.
Okay, all right, that's it. Thanks.
Stacy, please.
No questions.
And I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 3, 1401 East Pepper Lane, please?
You're joining us remotely, go ahead and raise your hand virtually and I'll call on you if you'd like to speak on this item. No hands.
Okay, Carl, so let me jump in here. Historians report, where are you going with that? Because if they're gonna nix a lot, we need to do one thing, or what's going on there, please?
I just got my IFL, so they're requiring a historical report. So I've reached out to Jay Callender and we're in the process of getting that going, so.
You haven't even started yet?
No.
Okay. So let's go back through the same order. Rob, please. We don't know what's gonna end up with that, in other words.
Yeah, I'm kind of missing some information on terms of kind of the hardscape landscape and that whole function of the sense of arrival and parking. It seems like that needs to be better developed at this point. The house and those kinds of where you park and all that, and the walkway into the house, I think need a little more thought and to be a little bit more creative developed. Right now, they feel like 2 separate pieces to me.
Okay. That is just the existing, so the owners would like to keep that existing, so if we could look at that and study that.
I just think it's just, there's a few little aspects to where you park and then right when you get into the house that I felt like were, from what I'm seeing, I mean, it's like trying to process all of this in 5 minutes is
Sure, it's existing. We're not proposing anything new, but we could study that.
okay. Thank you.
Robert, please.
It's an absolutely charming little cottage. I'm somewhat concerned about the extra flat roofs and I'm not a fan of the skylight at all. It seems like you have a lot of glass there on the walls. Why do you need a skylight? Those are my only comments.
Dave, comments, please.
Well, pending the historical report, if that all goes well, I can support the project. I think it's a charming little cottage and you're being very sympathetic. I was somewhat concerned about the flat roofs till I saw the photos and it looks very nice. And I think you're being sensitive. Certainly it's way under the FAR, so I can support the project if the historian comes through for you.
Yep, comments, please.
Yes, I can support the project as proposed. Thank you.
Bill,
Yeah, I think the architecture looks good. I don't have any problem with that. I would jump on to Rob's comments. If you're thinking about any kind of site work or areas there are parking, garage or covered covered carport or something, might help enhance that property. And then depending what the historian says, otherwise I can support what you've got going there.
Stacy?
Yeah, I mean, I can support the project as well. I do agree with Robert's comment, though, about the skylights. I don't know I feel like you're getting a lot already because you have a lot of fenestration on the sides where you have it, especially that garden room. I don't know if it's adding as much as detracting but overall, it's a charming cottage and I can support it.
I have no additional comments. Now, I'm a little concerned about, I guess, back for concept because we don't know about the history. Or do we want to do concept preliminary? I mean, if the historians say, hey, yeah. So what's everybody think? I think Dave? Okay, let's go. So come back with preliminary. We'll pick it up the next time on. It is a minor project, and I heard minor comments, but. Preliminary final? Yeah. Okay. No guarantees you're gonna get it, right, Carl? Thank you. Nice project, thank you. Okay, are you out of here? Kimberly, Rob needs to leave. Item number 4. 680 Buena Vista Drive. Mark. Excellent. Have a seat. Guillermo, Zoran, is Paul online? Yeah. Okay, and your mics are off. So a little bit of backstory here. There were some things last time about the FAR. They asked, this was in our last meeting, they asked if they got rid of the guest house. Would that be okay? And then a few other things have happened. They've also removed the ADU, which of course they are legally permitted to have, but in terms of our approval process, there was also, at least in my mind, some questions about what the lot is. And people in the county of Santa Barbara are permitted to have multiple APN numbers on a single parcel. I believe that that's what's going on. It sounds like so the parcel on the right-hand side where the little north symbol is, there you see the dashed line, is actually parcel 012. But when you add the two of them together, the surveyor, County of Santa Barbara surveyor, agrees that the number is 2.17 acres. That's the number they've used in the FAR. Time for you guys to go. Mark?
We're good.
So you just
was
wanted
good
approval?
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Back for final on consent.
Maybe you could run through I just wanted to give some backstory about what happened because there was some
Thank you.
confusion about.
It's always good to get a little history on that. We're right back. And thank you for your comments last time. And we heard you about the FAR size. And we've worked hard to consider that and make some changes that hopefully you will approve of. Mainly, the big picture, if Guillermo, you want to pull up your site plan, what sheet is that?
Correct. That would be L100.
In the future, if you guys know the PDF number, it helps Dave
Never do.
time. Just say like PDF 6 and then he can jump right to it. You know what it is by any?
Going, it's at the end.
It's the last,
Yeah.
last,
Last page.
Last page.
last page.
There you
There it
go.
is.
You go.
Okay. I love the site plan because it's beautiful. And I want to point out that we did have a guest house, an 800 square foot guest house that was north of the pickleball court that you see. And we removed that. It's no longer part of the project. No, nor is the ADU that was proposed on the south side of the project. So those are significant changes. We have looked carefully at the square footage and we reduced some of the spaces that were underneath the terrace. Primarily, there was a proposed theater that we completely eliminated. It was problematic anyway relative to the grading there. And so what we did keep the what is it? The gym. So we do have some square footage underneath the terrace. We are keeping the square footage for the master bedroom addition, which is on the first floor. And by doing so, we've dramatically reduced the overall FAR. It was, at the last time we spoke or came to the MBR, the FAR was 125%, and now it's down to 116. So we've reduced it quite a bit by those changes. So I hope you appreciate that. Let's see what's.
Can I make one comment about that?
Yeah.
So on the majority, so it started at 107. And if you count what we are doing at the master, it really brings it to 110. And the 116 is underneath the terrace. So it's not on any land, it's underneath the terrace, just so we're.
Is it a fully enclosed basement?
And then there's an enclosed basement.
Is it a fully enclosed basement?
Yes, there was an existing basement. And by adding the terrace, that got a little bigger, but the grading is an issue there. And so we're carving.
Is the room under the terrace a fully enclosed basement?
Yes.
Yes.
So it shouldn't add to the FAR.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Well, you said it, okay, never mind.
Well, John, to be clear, there is a new gym space under the terrace, which has a door, natural light and ventilation to the pool patio. And so
Yes.
that is the new square footage added to below the terrace. That's new legal living space. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a small amount of square
Can we see
footage
that,
underneath the
please?
terrace that
Can
we're
we see
counting.
that, please?
Yeah, that would be on sheet A 1.1. All the way up. Go. Up, up, up.
No, sorry, it's just it's
A1.
rendering slow.
Okay, loading slow. Oh, too far. More. More.
One more.
This is the demolition plan of the ground level, and the next one down is the proposed plan of the ground level. There you go, right there. You see the little gym space, and that's the 240. It's hard to read. Next to the crawl space, right there. You got it.
Yeah, so that's our gym to the left. There's an existing basement that we're building the terrace to get decent space off the south side of the house, of course. And part of that addition is creating this crawl space and extension to the basement. Really, the crawl space we plan to use, as you see there, as for the pool equipment and all the HVAC equipment we're going to need for the remodel. So essentially, overall, I think it's just a great project, and certainly adding the terrace to the south dramatically increases the quality of the architecture in terms of relating it to the site, which is inaccessible before. It was a 10-foot drop from the first floor of the house down to the garden, which is completely unusable. So that was the idea for our terrace, our kind of elegant stair terrace here, which is steps down gradually to grade. And then we've created the pool terrace, which Guillermo will talk about in a moment. I think you were happy with the overall architectural style and changes we'd made to the elevations, which really are keeping the house very traditional, very low key and low scale, true to the Mary Craig style. And if you could go to page A201, just to remind everybody.
There's your south. East.
A201,
Oh, 2.1.
201.
What direction, what
There you
direction?
go, there you go, there
A
you
little
go.
bit, that's the
That's good,
one.
that's good. That's perfect. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Anyway, this is the overall final north elevation, which is showing you the extension of the two bedrooms to the left of the front entry, which were usable, but the ceilings were so low that they were only appropriate for kids' bedrooms. But I think you really liked what we had done before with the architecture, so it wasn't really about that. It was about the FAR. And we've done quite a bit to, I think, head in your direction with the FAR, we hope. What other comments do I have? And so with that, I'd like to have Guillermo take a look at the site plan.
Can go back to, we can go back to L100.
Last page.
Thank you for your comments. Last time we were here, we integrated most of them and also make some adjustments to coordinate with the new site plan and the removal of the guest house and the ADU. Just want to remind you, the original plan was by Lockwood the Forest. Most of the landscape is gone due to maintenance and time. And all that remains is mostly the framework of the garden. So the owner likes to maintain that framework. So as we look at the plan, the area where we used to have the guest house, which is the upper lawn area, it went back to what the original intention was, which is having an open lawn area surrounded by planting. In this case, one of the comments we have is to add a little bit more subtropical planting, which that will be our intention. But as you are aware, we also have to comply with Willow. So we need to balance those two items as we move forward. But we definitely would like to bring some more of that subtropical palette to that area. As you go down, the pickleball remains the same as it was before. That was also part of the original framework, meaning there used to be a lawn there. It got replaced with a pickleball court. One comment was to look at possible alternative materials for the surface, but actually a pickleball court only works with a hardscape material. There is no grass or clay courts. And then the other item was the pool deck. One comment was to add more planting. And then if you zooming a little bit into the pool area, a little bit more. What we have done is the planters surrounding the edge of the pool area have increased. They used to be about 2 feet. Now they're 36 inches wide. And they go all around. We also added a planter at the end of the pool, right as the deck stepped down into a lower level. And then since we got rid of the ADU, now we have a wider planter all around the southern part. The orchard, which is part of the original concept, we bringing that back and we are wrapping that around the entire end of the pool and on both sides. So that's the majority of the changes. And then we also maintained like an oak woodland at the bottom of it. One thing that we know from Lockwood the Forest is he likes to maintain these formal gardens, contrasting with the natural environment. So in here, we maintain the natural elements, which is the original part that is still remaining. That will be more of a natural. And then using the original framework of very formal garden to emphasize those two elements and built into each other to bring back part of the original vision. And with that, I'd like to conclude.
I'd like to go back to just one more point I'd like to make about the architecture. If you go to A2.1. I think when you talk about FAR, I get it, with the neighborhood compatibility and whatnot. We started with a beautiful existing home and we're kind of barely adding on to it, really. I wanted to show you this section, A2.1.
Building sections are on 2.4. These are
This
side
section, this is the elevation I want. It's right there on A2.1 on the both left-hand sides of the sheet. And you can see how the south side of the site where Guillermo has designed that beautiful pool really is so much lower than the home. that we really needed to have this terrace design kind of delicately step down to that area. And so in elevation here, you can see the ziggurat steps that lead down from the existing home down to this pool deck. And that really is what created this space underneath the terrace that we're only using a portion of for the gym and a little bit for mechanical. So it's kind of a natural progression, and I feel like that small addition really helps the project in terms of making it functional and more beautiful. And it's not, and very compatible in terms of mass, bulk, and scale with the existing home. So I think that's about all I have to say.
Questions, Tip, please.
So the, is the FAR still 1.16?
It's 1.16 down from 1.25.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Bill, questions, please.
How does the FAR compare now to the neighborhood? Can we take a look at
This neighborhood surprised, I think that I sent that in there to you.
And what was the
No,
FAR
no.
before?
Could you speak up?
Started at 107
It was
Right
already
there.
107 before you did anything.
before we did
I
anything.
did not change the study based on today's submission, but the surrounding properties obviously don't have any effect. So the 125 is now 160.
116.
116.
Yeah, and it was 107. Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, that was all I had. Thanks.
Okay, Stacy, please, questions?
Can we go back to the site plan? Last page. Did the pool get smaller or shorter and wider?
No, it's the same size.
It's exactly
just
the same
that now
size.
that we've removed the ADU, it looks like it.
It looks, yeah, it looks more squatty. And you kept the runnel, I hope?
Yes.
Okay. No, I don't think I have any more questions.
Robert? Dave, questions?
No questions.
Okay, I have a question. Can you zoom out just a little bit on this sheet? The existing driveway is where you're showing it.
Yes.
I think that's dangerous. And it seems to me if you moved it to the right over and went straight out, you guys straight up and down?
Steep.
Well, let me just make the comment. I think it's a heck of a lot safer because as cars come around that corner, you can't see them as you're trying to pull out. So just think about it. Is there a way to make that driveway safer?
Hmm.
The item that you need to know is that,
Turn your mic on, please. Turn your mic.
right now, the road is curving, but it's also going uphill. So
It's uphill.
point up, we actually.
It's a question. You know, it does not look very safe to me. This is going to be a nice, expensive home.
Address this, but let me start and then he can finish.
Okay.
We worked with traffic.
Right.
We worked with traffic on the amount of landscaping that can't be in the front setback, so you can actually see. in
Oh, it's
both
way
directions.
low.
It's way low,
Okay, very good.
and they are proving it being way low.
It's
also
being
aligns
approved
with the
under
driveway
Public
across.
Works permit.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Paul?
I was saying we are under a Public Works permit plan check review process, and we're finalizing all the details right now.
Very good, thank you. Mark, can you show me an elevation of the gym door, please? And the terrace above it?
Yes. Yes.
Please.
That would be on page.
2.0?
No, I'd like you to go to 2.0.
Oh, your sketch, yeah.
2.0.
Yeah, it's not 2.0.
2.0 or
it's
2.0?
2.0, yeah.
I guess it is 0. I stand.
Okay.
Zero.
That's it. Okay, very good, thank you. Now, anybody else before I go to public comment? Public comment, anybody want to address the board on item number 4, 680 Buena Vista Drive, please?
No hands raised.
What? No hands?
No hands.
Okay. We are on for concept today. So there's no vote today. Comments, Tip?
Tip, could you speak into the microphone so we could?
Tip?
So I think that this is a very, beautifully designed addition, and it will be a quality project. And in this case, I don't think the minor exceeding of what we could have approved in terms of the grade FAR for the neighborhood, which is 1.1 or less, I don't think would be that relevant to this project. And I think the addition is kind of secluded, it's shield. And I don't think that it will have any visual effect to the neighbors. So I definitely would I can support the 1.16 revised FAR, and I think it's a very nice project. Thank you.
Bill, comments, please.
Yeah, I too agree with Tip. I could support your FAR 16 neighborhood study looked like it was more in keeping with that. And also the area that you're doing the addition seems fairly minor. I think the architecture looks great. That's great improvement to the property and the house. One note too that had kind of slipped through the cracks, which I think Robert might have mentioned, was the pickleball noise. I don't know if you're working on that, but anyway, that's always an issue in the neighborhood. So be conscious of that. Thank you.
Stacy?
Yeah, I think I can support the project as is, and even with the 116 FAR, I think it's much better. And yeah, the architecture is outstanding as usual. And it all seems very compatible now. So I'm good with it.
Robert?
Very nice project, and I can support the 116. I mean, this really is kind of a grand estate, so, it's historic and being improved in a very nice manner, so I like the project.
Dave?
Yeah, I want to commend you all on preserving this beautiful estate, both the architecture and the landscape. And for listening to the board and reducing the FAR, that's important. I can definitely support the project. It's very sensitively designed, and given the context of the project and everything that's happening, I don't see an impact to the community by that 116 FAR. So I say good job, and I'd say they can come back for preliminary final.
Bill? The pickleball court is on the public road. There's nothing more or less directly across the street. It's nowhere near any, there may be a little bit of noise, but it's about as far away as anyone could get.
Surrounded, and I think it's somewhat recessed into the grade too, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The landscape around it.
Have a
yeah.
low wall around it.
There we've addressed it then,
And
haven't
they
we?
make quiet paddles and balls now. Quieter.
Which may not play the same way.
No, maybe not, but yeah.
If possible, we'd like to request final on consent. All the details.
Whoa.
Stepping ahead.
What? You're on for concept today. You're not getting a vote today, okay? So I'm hearing people getting ready to say preliminary, but we can get to that in a little bit. So my comment is, to date, unless there's a strong support, and there oftentimes is at the beach, for instance, for large neighbors, I've never voted above 110. I'm not going to do it here either, but what I am going to do, which I don't think I've ever done either, is abstain on this project. You've done a nice project. I understand it. I don't think it's worthy of a no, but I don't think it's worthy of a yes for me. Now, what they're asking for basically is preliminary final on consent next time. Are we far enough along? Are we further enough along on the landscaping?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And on the everything else? So we can do that, yes?
Yes.
And Bill, maybe you can give me a hand on the architecture on consent? Okay. Okay, so, no vote, preliminary, final on consent, okay? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, John, everybody. Thank you for your consideration. It's going to be a good, great project, so.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I don't hear anybody saying otherwise.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5. 1181 Glenview Road. We have one public comment. And there were 2 public comment letters, and I have 1 public comment slip. I think one of the comment letters is also from that person. So no double dipping. You can have one or the other. Let me read the comments on this. We did a site visit. Does everybody remember this project, please? Oh, boy.
On that day, but
Okay.
I was here for last review.
Let me read the comments. Well thought out proposal, nice changes to project. Consider slight rotation to dwelling in order to integrate it with existing site conditions. Restudy windows to protect neighbor privacy. Consider reducing the mass of the second story. Consider a different entry point to the site. Study frontage landscaping and consider more native plantings. Include color palette and material board for next review. Today you are on for preliminary final, so, okay. Please.
Okay. Chair Watson, Vice Chair Mendro, Commissioners, thank you for having us back here. We're pleased to bring the Oak Knoll residents in front of you, and we've heard the comments, which were all thoughtful, and we found that in our process, as we consider comments and different perspectives, projects tend to get better because it brings to light things that we hadn't thought about, blind spots, et cetera. So we're back today with a presentation. We'd like to kind of go comment by comment so that we can very clearly provide you with a description of how we've tried to fold the feedback in. And then we'll have a description of the landscape development. And then there's additional materials in there that helped round out the preliminary package, which we're happy to talk further about if there are questions.
Are you attempting final today or just preliminary?
We came in with the understanding this was preliminary. If
Then let's just go that far.
deemed complete, then we will obviously
Yeah.
take that. So yes, if I'll hand it over to Linda here to start the presentation and really focus on some of the design changes that have been made.
Okay, if we can turn to PDF page 44, I'd just like to start with comment number 7. We're returning with the material palette and color, just to walk you through with the 3D views of the house. So the bottom are the palettes. So the lower massing of the first floor of the house and some of the site walls, we are intending to have this 4th palette, the stone veneer, a sandstone, to really ground the building. And it will likely be a natural cleft organic pattern. And then you have on the second square, we're proposing wood siding, which you're seeing on the building that complements the tones of the stone. And then the other exterior material is a light plaster that complements the other 2. And the intent for hardscape paving is a light stone, possibly limestone, and the windows accenting the materials will likely be some warm metal tone, like that first square image. Addressing the comment about reducing the mass of the second story, particularly, I think there were concerns both from the board and neighbors of the roof line that was over 100 feet. So that top left image, that roof line at the second story was previously over 100 feet, has now been reduced to about 20 feet. And I can show you on the plan after. And with that, that also helped us reduce the glazing. So at that same upper left image, that face of glazing on the second floor has been reduced by about 17 feet. David, if you don't mind flipping to the plan PDF page 38. If you zoom in, the blue dimensions and the dashed blue lines indicate where that like 100-foot roof line was. And so we basically, that laundry room on the south, by pushing it north, we've reduced that roof line there. And as a result, the glazing line was then reduced. And in addition to reducing the length of the glazing, we're also, if you zoom in a little bit, we've introduced some solid panels, getting rid of some of the windows along that. And Jason will comment further on this, on the comment with the considering a different entry point, which we have. And so you'll see when we get to that point that this facade is now no longer kind of that frontal view from the street, given where our new driveway is.
I think there are a couple comments just about the design, maybe kind of as a thing, and then obviously that can't be taken out of context with the public comment, the thoughts that were expressed on the streetscape and the landscape, and the degree to which it felt like the elevation of the house is right up against the street. So I think hopefully you'll see through a combination of moves. I think while the house itself hasn't moved significantly in terms of its position, the way that it's perceived from the street by neighbors with the assistance of planting, I think greatly has changed the complexion of the house. So if we were to, David, if we could go to slide number 9, please, which is it's a landscape site plan, but I think it shows the overall site and proposal nicely. The comment last time was asking whether the team would consider rotating the house because it is slightly off parallel from the contours. I think this slide, I just want to bring this up to kind of remind us all of the various constraints that we were facing, whether to the south in terms of drip line and existing oak trees, a property line that is curving and at an angle relative to the kind of normal or the kind of long side of the house, and the fact that we're in this little triangular zone. So we studied it. We didn't see material improvement. So the house position has more or less remained. But what we did do was we changed the approach into the house, and that was a comment that was brought up. And so previously, the house was entering in perpendicular to the long west elevation of the house, more or less right south of the garage there, which is the north volume. And we discovered by swinging that entry point further south and coming in on more of an oblique angle to the house, it completely changed the sight lines into the property. It allowed us to plant trees to better shield the broad side of the house. And we have a few renderings that show that. In addition, there was a comment about integrating it into the site. While we didn't rotate the house, we did find a couple opportunities where there were some proposals for a patio and a sort of pergola that really were jutting out further out on the northeast corner of the house. And it was creating a condition where it felt like the house was continuing to exist above the landscape, which is falling away. So we removed that and we relocated that function and program further south of the pool into a flatter portion of the lot. So if we could, and I won't, maybe if we could go to slide 43, please. David, if you don't mind zooming into the top right, if it's small, and we'll go image by image. The top, I'm sorry, top left there. The top left image was where we previously had a gate, and you can kind of see through the trees that there's a white band. That is the floor slab of the second plate, and previously we had a gate that kind of looked right in, and it was a little bit challenging to try to screen the glass of the facade. You know, we had some trees there. Now you can see there's a wall that's been closed up. So then if we pan over, this is the new location, which is further south. And while you do see a little bit of the house, we are able to screen it, I think, in a more convincing manner. And if we pan down, please. This is the approach. And so now you see when the gate is open and you're coming in, you're not looking at glass. You are seeing building, but there is a house here. But you are coming into the entry court. And I think it's a little more private. It's more discreet. So we feel it's an overall improvement.
I just wanted to add that also by moving the driveway in this location, the existing grading on this street is much higher. So just view wise, you're seeing this house kind of more down than before. You were pretty much at grade at the auto court, looking at the house and seeing the two-story.
And one other kind of spillover effect here with the repositioning of the entry and the way that we changed that little patio on the northeast side is we were able to bring the cut fill a lot closer. Previously, we're at 1250 on our cut and 800 on our fill. We're now at 1,000 on the cut. So previously that delta was about 56% relative to the lower number, and now it's reduced by about half to 25%. And so I'll hand it over to Kira here.
Sure, thank you. If we can actually please go back up to sheet 9, the site plan. Yeah, thank you. So as Jason and Linda mentioned, you know, we really restudied the realignment of the driveway, which we thought it was an improvement after looking at it. I think one thing we could touch on as well is how we've maintained the native grade to the right of the driveway. So that grade kind of pushes into the architecture. Previously, we had a kind of a clear path around that. So the architecture kind of feels a little bit more nestled into that hillside there. And as Jason mentioned, you know, we have the ability now to kind of unify the planting palette on Glenview Road. I think one of the comments previously was that there was kind of a mishmash. I don't know if you remember, we had two mature ficus trees on either side of the existing driveway that we never really loved. And so we have an opportunity now to unify that plant palette with some additional oak trees in a quiet kind of native understory. If we can go to sheet 20, please. Or actually, I'm sorry about that, sheet 12, the renderings. Can kind of help further this narrative. Yeah, so I think the bottom rendering here, you can kind of see how that palette will kind of die into the architecture. There's maybe a 4-foot grade change. And the driveway coming into the motor court. And maybe the next sheet would be helpful too, I'm not sure. Yeah, so just general look and feel of the plant palette. Maybe sheet 20 we've had since our last meeting. We've developed the planting plans. I think previously it was just more of a conceptual level planting plan. The clients love like native plants and flowering Mediterranean type plants that we think will be a nice contrast to the modern architecture. And screening along the north property line between the two neighbors there, we have a nice kind of naturalized palette there. And I think if we can just flip through keep going down, there'll be kind of more landscape sheets. We can kind of skip past these, are just more blow-ups of the landscape plan. But I think we've developed a lighting plan maybe we could review. Palette, irrigation, we can skip all of this, please. Yeah, so landscape lighting plan, very minimal lighting, some path lights, and a few integrated lights, and maybe the next sheet too. But very low key lighting, no uplights or anything like that. I think, I don't know if this is the last sheet. Maybe we can keep going, please. Yeah, so here's the lighting fixtures. I think that's it. And I'll pass it back to Jason and Linda.
Just to piggyback off that, from architectural lighting standpoint, we adopted a similar concept of just keeping it very simple. So the types of lights that are included are kind of in-wall shielded downlights, which we're trying to keep to a minimum. There are a couple downlighting sconces at the garage. But in terms of lights in ceiling soffits, we have maybe one or two, and we were really trying to keep a clean ceiling plane at the exterior, so we don't kind of see that. So,
Are you done?
yes.
Okay, questions? Robert?
Presentation included an explanation of the second floor being reduced in mass or square footage, both? Or
It was I think the comment was just that the roof line was so vast. And so we've reduced the roof line at that top story.
is it less square footage now?
No.
So how,
Well, we tried to push back some of that mass so that it wasn't just a straight run. So yes, overall, like in terms of the overall
as
length,
much as
that's
straight
there.
run.
But there's a little bit of push
so
and pull there.
your FAR is still the same?
Correct.
Correct.
I understand all the other changes. No more questions.
Dave, questions, please.
No questions.
Stacy, please.
Yeah, so one question, looking at the planting plan. So having just, as we all sit here and watch a lot of fires today, I assume this is high fire zone? And we have trees next to the house with canopies within 15 feet. How are we addressing that?
Yes, I would say I'm very sympathetic to the fires and we're very mindful of that. These plans have been preliminarily fire approved. However, our understanding when working with the fire departments is they do allow some trees within the zone 1 fire boundary. So there's going to be some push pull, I think, with them. And so I think we would have to look at that more closely. If that does become a problem, we may have to pull out some trees.
Well, my understanding of fire is that you can't have any plants next to the structure 5 feet. It has to be all gravel mulch now. And tree canopies have to be set at a 10-year maturity, 15 feet from the structure, edge of canopy in zone 1 fire for county.
We'll look at.
Just, the question is, I just see it on the plans. Are you aware of that? And maybe, having the fire zones printed on the planting plans via county.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Bill, please.
Where's your pool equipment? Do you have that located yet?
I think right now, the plan for the pool equipment is to locate it. And maybe we go to the site plan. Maybe page 9, please, David.
More out of the setback and off the property lines.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it definitely, it's not in the setback. It's within the property. We're kind of, it hasn't been fully engineered yet, but we're looking at maybe north of the garage if it's not too long of a run. We've got some utilities in that area. Otherwise, Kira, if you have any other
You'll
thoughts.
figure it out.
Yeah, I think we need to study that a little bit, but preliminarily, we had looked at it to the north of the garage, as Jason was saying. But I think that's being worked out.
And your landscape lighting is just path lights, no tree lights or up lights or any of that?
Correct, yes.
And then last, you have fireplaces. Are they wood burning? I don't see any chimneys, so I wasn't sure if you hadn't worked those in yet or
They're gas.
gas logs. So there'll be some direct vent or something maybe,
Correct.
so maybe no chimney required.
One of them will likely require a chimney flue that penetrates out the
All right.
top, but there's one unit like that. The other one would be a direct vent unit.
Okay. And your glass skylights will be flat glass, probably not acrylic domes or something.
No, not dome flat. Yeah,
Right.
flat but angled, most likely.
Is that it, Bill? Chip, comments, please. Questions, please.
No questions.
We visited the neighbor across the street who I think is with us today. And I felt that what had occurred out of that is that the owner, your owner, said, I'm taking out all the trees on the east property line. I drove by there yesterday. There still were some eucalyptus, which is blocking the view down the coast there. It was my understanding that the owner said, I'm taking out mine and I've talked to the neighbor to the east and they're taking out theirs. So the question is, what's the status of that? Is that deal now gone? Are we still waiting for an approval from somebody? What's the deal about those trees, please?
I think the owner might be online. Bob, if you,
What's his name, please?
Bob Bridger,
You see him on
see
there?
him online? They were.
Can you promote him if whatever?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, super. Yeah. Yes, we have spoken to our neighbors and so the trees you speak of are not on our property. So one of the neighbors, one of the owners passed away and his widow remains on the property. So pushing to take trees down at this time is a little insensitive. So we've sort of spoken to her previously, but we haven't pressed to take trees down. As I said, it's not on our property. There's some additional trees, eucalyptus, that are on another property, the Strange property, and they are they're open to having those trees removed, but we haven't had progress. They travel quite a bit and live between several properties. But our intent is to improve the view as much as we can, not only for sake of view, but quite frankly, especially with the fires that we're all, experiencing down in LA and the hazardous nature of these trees. And I'm on the board for the HOA. We'll be taking a more assertive approach to really managing our trees in that nature, not only here, but throughout the neighborhood. So I can't say, yes, we have a specific timeline. The intent is to remove them, and we have received cooperative responses from our neighbors to do that, and with us funding it.
And you would be funding this?
That's right.
Okay, so very good. Thank you. Second question. It's interesting. You should not ever be able to see the garage doors directly from the street, which we didn't before, and we are head on right now. So I don't know that it's very much of an issue for the neighbors, but have you thought about materials and things like that for maybe just the garage door, maybe the entire garage, both to settle it down visually, but also to create visual interest, since that's what you're looking at when you're coming into this house for all your guests? Have you thought about that, please?
Yes, David, maybe we can go to sheet 43 as a,
It's on the renderings, it was shown as pure white.
or actually maybe go to, was it 13 is the landscape rendering that? Yeah, I think the renderings are a little overexposed. Maybe it's the previous slide. 43 is, but okay. Sorry, I'm sorry, 43, please. The intent there currently is that we address that garage. It's intended to be stone clad,
Oh,
with wood, like a nice, very simple wood sided door.
excellent, thank you. Public comment. Now, I know we have, Robert, are you still with us? You also had a letter for us today, right? Okay, do we have a letter? We have two public comments. There you are. Is that please come up if you'd like to address the board. If not, is that from last meeting? Okay, so that was after the last meeting. Okay, so 3 minutes, go.
Okay, yeah, I like the new design. It all looks very attractive. My only concern was the mass of the second story, intruding into our view and, basically dominating the view that we have out of the house. That's our main focal point of the house. It, all the previous picture, I don't know if it still does or not. I can't tell from the new drawings, but I'm concerned about loss of privacy and this large second story looking into our living room and bedrooms. And I don't know if that's been addressed or changed, but everything else looks very nice. I'd be very happy to go along with it as long as I know we still have our privacy.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, are there large picture windows on our side facing our property? I don't know.
David, if we could go back to slide 43, or is it the elevations? I think it's right up. It's further down. I'm sorry.
It's 40 or starting from 40, the exterior elevations.
The renderings that are just
Going down.
down, please. Sorry. There we go.
Mhm. Okay.
Upper left-hand image, I guess. So part of the reason that we didn't rotate the house was because we realized it would be taking the short side of the house, which actually has some windows, and actually turning them more towards Von Weber residence. In addition, we've made sure that the corner there, while you might see some house through the trees, if you do, at least you're seeing some solid wall and not.
This all looks very nice.
Yeah.
It's on the other side.
The other side would be, sure, I believe it's the bottom right-hand image, David, to the right. So there are, on the second story, you can see that there are a few windows, and that's the side that is probably most exposed, but again, it is on the very far oblique relative to the sight line.
Second story, I see large windows overlooking the ocean.
Right.
It's on the right side as well. I can't see.
No, they are not. So the windows that you're seeing on the second floor on the right side, those you are getting basically a glancing view at best through the trees. And so we do not have windows that are directly facing your house.
Is that a deck? Or it's just a roof?
There is a walkout, but it's shielded by the mass of the house. So
Faces the ocean.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that considerably better than before, and then we'll.
Yes.
Also, they're going to be high enough. I know you were originally talking about putting large specimen trees to shield our view of the house. Are you still going to do that?
Yes, the intent is still more specimen trees. Kind of going back to the comment on fire, we are dealing with a number of different things. We have the Burnham Wood HOA, obviously S-bar or M-bar and neighbor concerns. So we're going to have to really play a tricky game there with the size of these trees and how, we do have existing plant material, but we do intend to bring in big specimen trees to screen as best as we can.
Speed.
Robert, you're actually over your time. No, hang on. Well, are everybody here willing to talk after the meeting with each other? Okay, so, yeah, so maybe out away from the door because we hear it come in. But okay, thank you very much. Okay, anybody else like to address the board? I think if his letter was old, the other letter was old. Okay, anybody else, please? Dave, David?
No additional hands.
Okay, so we are back for preliminary final. They admitted they're not ready for final and the drawings prove that. So, Robert, comments. We're on for preliminary today.
I feel it's a pretty skillfully designed modern or contemporary, and I like the material palette. And, you know, I did have some misgivings about the second floor, but I understand the whole concept, the whole form, and I think it's a well-done project. As long as it can be worked out, that the neighbors are satisfied with the landscape provisions for some screening, I think should be given preliminary.
Is that it?
Yep.
Dave, comments, please.
I appreciate how you've listened to the comments of the board and the neighbors, and I think you have a better project for it. I like the renderings. I like the softness of the materials. That helps soften the fact that it's contemporary. The one thing you definitely need to bring next time is the details for the fenestration and the roof edge, because that's what really makes this house, and they're not there now. So, but overall, I like the project, support it.
Is that it, Dave? Stacy, you're up.
Yeah, I want to commend you guys for really like tackling this, and it was a very difficult project with a lot of people and a lot of comments. I really think the changing the approach, even though I agree, we don't typically like to drive in and see garage doors, but in this particular instance, I think it's absolutely fine. Because it really changes the presence of the house to the street, which I think was a great design choice. And I think it added to better screening, better privacy as well for everybody involved, as well as the owners in the house too. And I think the architecture feels a lot less aggressive as well by scaling back the glazing and especially on the street side. And I really appreciate that, as well as removing the ficus. And I think the plant palette is a great plant palette. I really like it. I am concerned about meeting fire safety and that we demonstrate that, self-included. I mean, we all have to sit here and go, okay. And yeah, no, I could approve it for preliminary final, going to the next stage.
Preliminary.
Well, yes, I can approve preliminary. Sorry.
Bill, please, comments.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you've done. I think it looks good. It's a beautiful project. Materials are great. Landscaping looks good. I would say just make sure you work with the neighbors, make sure the privacies for both you and them are kind of maintained with landscape. Work out your details too, you know, railings and chimney caps and deck materials and roof eaves and rakes and windows and doors, get all that stuff kind of pulled together. Your lighting, how you're going to do it, which we did see, which looked approvable. So with that, I definitely give them preliminary and have them come back for final and consent.
Yep, comments, please.
You know, overall, I think it's a successful project, and but I feel that especially looking at the elevation and what have you done between the stone and the plaster, I feel that probably a little more study needs to be done to see how the materials play together and how, for example, look at that elevation. You know, I think that the stone element in the garage is a little bit peculiar. The thin stone beam and with the windows and the thinner stone profile column versus some of the plaster elements. So I think those are the fine tuning that you probably can spend a little more effort try to make sure that those two elements work together a little better. I think you'll probably have a more successful project. Thank you.
I also agree that this is a successful project. The one thing I would ask is working with the neighbor. I think currently the neighbor has this much view of the ocean, and if you get the trees out, you're going to shift it over, but it's going to be that much, so it's a plus plus, and you're a long-term owner in the community, so you should be able to talk with some of your neighbors and encourage them to move forward too. So I am ready to receive a motion for preliminary. Who would like to make that, please?
I'll make the motion to grant preliminary approval with the applicant to return for final on consent with the details that are necessary.
Second that?
Okay, any further discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, last project of the day, number 865 Romero Canyon Road. Daryl, are you on, please?
Yeah, John, Daryl Becker here together with Derek Eichelberger of Arcadia Studios. We're back with
And-
865.
And they are on for preliminary and final today, so please go ahead.
Correct. We're back with 865 Romero Canyon. The last time we were here, there was a few comments about studying some rear doors and finalizing the landscape plan, and also reviewing the roof plan on the easterly elevation. We've spent the last couple of weeks refining the plan and bringing it back for final. First of all, if you go to sheet 7A 1.01. This again, I'm just is the site plan, just kind of reminding you of the project. It's up Romero Canyon above the Lilac Split to the east. And the only new portions on the project are a pool house, and we are re-sculpting a aviary into a small office at the northern part of the property. The next sheet I'll take you to is A 3.1.
Have a PDF number?
PDF is 14. And so, yes, if you go to the sheet before that, this is the area where we studied the roof. This is the roof plan. And there's currently on the east side of the building on the roof, there's an extended shed roof. And we were asked by a couple members of the board to take a look at this. If you go to the next PDF, we're adding a shed roof at the right-hand side, which is this roof section. And we think the recommendation of the board was particularly successful. So the next PDF is the elevation of the building. So here is the shed roof on the existing south elevation and what was previously proposed on A 3.10. And the next sheet, next PDF is the revised solution as a result of the board's input, which is an introduction of a sheet metal roof there, standing seam sheet metal roof to coordinate with other elements on the building. We think the balance of that works really well. We think it also cleans up that elevation nicely. So I appreciated that input. The next PDF gives us that easterly end, which this is what was existing and what was proposed. And the next PDF, which is what we're now recommending, is this gable end. And we've just simply enlarged the window there in the closet at the end of the building. We're still going to try to incorporate the stone as a balancing piece because the opposite end of the building has this similar stone on it. The next sheet shows the rear elevation, which this is what was proposed, which has this, as I said, that interesting double shed roof. The next sheet is as we're proposing for preliminary final, which is the B allocations here. We're very happy with this. Arcadia is going to recommend some landscaping to soften the quantity of this stone, but we still think that this, as a stone element, balances out the rear of the building. And then the next sheet is the west elevation, and this essentially stays the same, so no changes here. If you go to the next PDF, I think we've got one more that shows the end of the building. I just wanted to bring your attention to sort of the stonework and the base of this residence. You can see the existing west elevation has a single-story exposure, but if you look at the patio that's supported by this garden wall without landscape here, you'll see the introduction of this cobblestone that's prevalent around the house. So we think this order works real well. Back to the other comment that was received, if you'll go, I think 4 sheets up, correct, right there. Sorry, 1 down. There you go. That's it. Nope, you had it. There. No, I'm sorry, 1 more page down. I'm trying to pull in the lower elevation as the proposed right there. So we did study at length the idea of changing these arched windows or doors, and our client is very strongly in favor of using these. They're proposed to be steel doors to augment the they're sort of window door profiles to augment the rear door elevation, and they feel very strongly about this. It's on the back elevation of the house, so as much as we took and studied at heart the board's input, the client would like to leave these doors as proposed. Other than that, I think the rest of our presentation is landscape specific. I will take you back to sheet 4, PDF 4, which I believe reviews our finishes. And so again, this is a remodel of sort of a migrated remodeled house over the years. There's a whole multitude of different finishes, and we're sort of pulling all those together in more of a consistent manner, if you will, to pull the design of the house back together. The next sheet, if you will, is A09, and this shows examples of the different board and batt siding, horizontal siding, vertical siding, and the existing stone walls that are used around the residence. And with that, I think I'll kick it over to the landscape architect.
Hello. You want to look at the site plan first? Landscape site plan?
It's going to be the last 4 sheets or 5 sheets.
Go to the planting plan.
Page, what PDF is that? That's the grading plan. Do we have the landscape plans? Should be 38 or 37. It might be a separate file.
There
You
it
guys
is.
might have that. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, there it is. I think we went over most of this last time, but just to remind you of
This is
things.
the lighting plan, Derek.
That's the planting plan
Oh, it
It's
is.
got the lighting plan on it.
and the lighting plan. We can use this sheet. The thing that the owners really like about this site is that it's incredibly wild, and even though there's old buildings on it, it feels incredibly rural, and it's covered with, you know, huge and various sized boulders, and about a dozen walls have been constructed over who knows how many years, and they're all slightly different. Part of our job is to pick the ones we like best and sort of imitate those and get rid of some of the ones that aren't so successful. But just keep that in mind as we've talked about the development of the site. There are actually 2 motor courts on this site. The one on the south will be, for all intents and purposes, the owner's entry. There's a beautiful stone wall that runs along the front of that elevation, which is a bit too high. We've all agreed that it should come down about a foot, which will make the interior courtyard feel less oppressive and make the front elevation more inviting. And then in the back, towards the south, there's another motor court, which is actually a drive around at this point. You can see the circle in the middle. There's a big oak tree there, and there's a basically turnaround motor court there. The new development of the interior necessitates or wants to have a series of patios spilling out off those rooms, but they're all at different elevations because of interior elevations. So we're pulling out the existing wall and pushing it to the southwest so that those spaces can be more accommodating. And we're redoing the entry so it's much more inviting to guests. And so that space above the circle now will be flattened out and be a garden space with these patio spaces in the entry. And then we still have room for arriving guests. You can see parking spaces and such like that. The rest of the project, as far as the landscape, goes out towards a new pool and cabana structure. And there's a big flat area over there, which allows us to do the pool, but it meanders through an oak grove on the way out there. So it gives us an opportunity to link all the landscape together from the main house out towards the pool. Everything besides that is pretty wild. We're going to leave it that way for a while until they get used to living in this space and then seeing what happens from there. As far as planting goes, is there a legend on here? Can you zoom in? Bottom of the drawing. Yeah, you guys can look this over. Go to the left, please. So since there's so many large trees there already, almost all the trees we're proposing are basically understory trees that thrive under oak trees or around them. There's also sycamore trees that are on site. And then our main planting plan is native and other drought tolerant textural plantings that will help knit together the existing site with a new proposed site. It'll be a little bit more domesticated adjacent to the house and then get wilder as it extends it out into the landscape. And I think that's about it.
Lighting.
You can talk about the lighting.
If you go back up to the site plan further up on the sheet. All of the colored dots, so the red dots, and then there's a couple purple ones. It's all the landscape lighting. And we've got cut sheets on the last page as well, but basically all the lighting is just intended for safety purposes. We're not trying to really light up the space or even really get close to any property lines or anything like that. We're trying to keep it pretty subdued. Just kind of like a natural oak woodland could be with a house sitting in the middle of it. So the walls up against the house, they've got some wall lighting, and other than that, everything is just very far spaced path lights. And if you go to the last sheet, which I think is the planting detail sheet, we can look at the cut sheets for lighting. Oh, sorry. Last sheet of the landscape section. So that one there. Right there. You zoom into the colored box. On the left is our shielded path light. And whenever we get back to it, the one on the right is the wall light, both just completely shielded. You never see glare. And I think that wraps up the landscape scope.
Derek and
My name's Justin Manuel with Arcadia Studio.
are you complete?
We are complete. Thank you.
And Daryl, you also?
Yes, we're complete.
Questions, Stacy, please.
I actually have no questions.
Dave, please.
No questions.
Kip, please.
No questions.
Bill, please.
Elevation, just one question, if you can go to that real quick. There's a door, it looks like a back entry door. Is there a way to line that up with the windows above? May not work in plan, I just was curious.
You know what sheet it's on?
Don't, it's the south
This-
elevations. Try that, Dave. Click on that one there. Oh,
3.0, wait, 3.
it's not a big deal.
No, it's,
And then while he's looking for that, Daryl, on the arches, I'm, you know,
yes.
warming up to those, but I was thinking if, and again, not a critical item, but if it didn't have the concentric arch inside the large arch,
Yeah.
would that be acceptable to the owners?
Yeah, we're comfortable with that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, because I think it's the style of that arched
I
window that
understand.
looks different there. Oh, wait, south.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're talking about it's A 3.
There you go, that guy. Yeah.
Right. We've actually tried that. So this existing door centers in what is the center of the barn. There was a old section, and although the ridge is to the left and the windows are like that,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
all
see
right.
above the existing and then you see below, it's, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
that's fine. I didn't know if it worked in plan, so.
We
that's-
really worked, you can see we actually shifted it over, but it's a little weird.
Yeah, yeah. It is the charm. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
this is very, it's a bit haphazard, if you will, but you don't ever see that elevation. You come in at an angle
Yeah.
from the, further from the east, so you never really are standing straight on.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Is that it, Bill? Robert, questions, please?
No questions.
Daryl, you're proposing a metal roof. Is that a matte finish on it, please? The answer is yes.
The answer is yes, and it's a mixed roof. It's composition and metal, and yes. it's
But the
matte.
portion of the metal,
Yes,
is that a matte finish, please?
agreed.
Okay, excellent. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on, close my agenda by mistake, item number 6, 865 Romero Canyon Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, so comments. Stacy?
I like it as much as I liked it the last time, possibly even better. I think the small changes are improvements, and I could definitely support it.
Are there any other comments besides that?
I didn't see any door and window head jam and sill. Did you guys do those?
We did.
You did, okay.
They're in
That's
the
good.
set.
Then I'm fine.
Anybody else? Okay, who would like to make a motion for preliminary and final?
I'll make a motion to grant preliminary and final approval for 865 Romero Canyon Road as submitted.
And what I would like to have that motion changed slightly with the metal roofing be specifically called out with a matte finish. Is that okay, Bill?
Yes.
And I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
To
I'd like
move,
to talk with everybody after the meeting's adjourned. Is there a motion for adjournment, please?
Uh,
There's a second.
second that.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.